Well, good morning, community. Welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast Survivor Experience. Have I got a super exciting guest for you today? I've got John Kennedy, and let me read her. I had to write down his introduction. Amazing man. I'm so grateful him being here today and sharing his basic gift, and what he's developing, like John Kennedy method on neuroplasticity. So my podcast guest today is John Kennedy. John Kennedy is #1 best-selling author, master executive brain coach, international speaker, trainer, and process efficiency consultant. He recently combined the extensive process improvement experience with field that he created, applied neuroplasticity. I'm going to spare all you the suffering to me reading it. I don't. John is an amazing man. This is applied neuroplasticity. I told John in the green room, this is groundbreaking. I really believe this does everything I said to do. Said it will do. He says it'll do. It will make a ripple effect within the brain injury community. So, without further ado, let me bring John on the camera. Hold on. Welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast Survivor Experience, where I believe mindset is the foundation of your recovery. I'm your host, Aaron Avila, a 13-year post-survivor of a brain aneurysm and stroke. Join me now as I share survivor stories of resilience and triumph around the globe. So without further ado, let's get to it. Hey, good morning, John.
Hey, Aaron. So good to see you. I'm really glad to be on here. This is really kind of exciting for me to get the word out to help stroke survivors. And obviously, we've built a good relationship, and I'm looking forward to the next few weeks taking you through some of the program.
I really am grateful for you being here. I really am. And I think the Kennedy method and I can't tell you how grateful I am to meet you. And because I know that right now, and I want everybody to know, this is not some food juice. This is real tried and proven technology John is bringing to us. John, you work in the military, right?
Well, I was not, but I work with the military. Actually, that was my background.
Right.
And actually, I've got some slides I can take people through, give a little bit of background, and also.
Okay, yeah, let me bring those up. Hold on. Go ahead.
So the first thing, we have a video. If video doesn't work, that's all right. Basically, will that work? That's okay. So actually, we have a video. We can send it to people. It's kind of very short, but it kind of gives an idea of the wide range of people we've been able to help, from kids with ADHD to people with strokes to high performers. The key is that the brain is really central to everything we do, our performance, no matter what we do. So let me go through the slides to give people a little bit of background. So basically, that's me, right? So my whole life has been solving problems. So that led to a lot of consulting for really big companies, C-level companies, figuring out energy conservation. I always like to solve problems. And of course, improving our brain is a problem that we want to improve. And so that's what really drew me to this field. And in fact, the program that I'm going to talk about is the only one that's been vetted and approved by the Department of Defense. So really, really very powerful. Let me tell you a little bit more about my background. Basically, this is what I did. I had a process improvement methodology to help big companies, right? C-level, Abbott, Aon, Bank of America. And it was all about making the processes of an organization more efficient. And that was really, really critical to saving them lots of money, obviously. But then the Marines called. So I had an opportunity back in 2007 to develop a program to improve the ability of Marines in combat. So again, to me, it's all about making the brain more efficient. Didn't know if it would work, but I have a contract from the Marines that said, look, we want you to go do this. We're going to have an experiment. We're going to have a control platoon. We're going to give you a platoon to work with. And let's see if we can make a difference with these young Marines. And so I asked actually for the worst performing platoon in the battalion. So these guys were really suffering a lot. They lost 16 guys a cycle before, a lot of rampant post-traumatic stress, some suicide attempts, and they were really failing in what they were doing. Obviously, high performers, and then people struggling. And so my focus of developing my program was not just to improve the ability of high performers, but also to accelerate recovery from any type of brain damage. And to me, it was very rewarding because my previous career was helping companies make more money. Now I was able to help save lives. And that was the whole hypothesis of what we were trying to accomplish. So at that time, I read this book. I recommend it to anyone. It's called The Brain That Changed Itself. This is really the seminal book on neuroplasticity. And basically, everything we do, say, or even think is physically changing our brain to rewire to make whatever that was that we were repeating easier to do. The key is, how can we use that to improve the ability of Marines to recover from any type of trauma? And that was my big God wink moment. What if I could take my process improvement methodology and apply it to the brain using neuroplasticity as the medium? Maybe we can make a difference. So for that, I created a field of applied neuroplasticity. I created this field back then in 2007 in response. And it was so powerful that neuroscientists who had been through my program said it never could have come from traditional research. Not that traditional research is bad. Everything out there were about research, but research can take years and years and years, 5, 10, 20 years to come up with something that could actually make a difference. So my old goal being a consultant was I was in a hurry, right? I wanted to help these guys before they deployed, and they only had 3 months to do it. So what I did is I took a process approach, which was my background, and applied it to the critical cognitive skills of our brain. So there's several sub-processes, but basically in order for us to process information, we need to break the data down, think through what we're going to do with it, and then execute on it. And if we can train the brain to do this very, very fast and get into flow state, what happens is we can improve that processing ability significantly. So that was the framework that this was based on. But then research out of MIT at that time was perfect for our time. And they found that what they call robust stimulation will start to change the brain physically immediately, not in a day or a week or a month. And so my interpretation of this was, one, the brain had to work hard so that it would change quickly. But we also wanted to improve the connections to all parts of the brain that interface with the body as well, because we want real world improvements. There's a lot of digital programs and they're fun to play, and you get better at the scores, right? But the problem is there's very minimal real world benefits. Research has shown that for the last 15 years. We need to engage the parts of the brain that interface with the real body as well. So eyes, ears, mouth, hands, and feet. And finally, the third component of applied neuroplasticity is a continuous improvement methodology. So the exercise I'm going to take you through, Aaron, and we start everybody with, is just a derivative of what I created almost 16 years ago now for the Marine Corps. And we keep improving it and bringing more parts of the brain, bringing more parts of what people are trying to achieve. So it's a continuous improvement process. So I developed this program. I embedded with these Marines for only 3 months, and it was incredible, the difference. No more behavioral issues. Their CEO said they were moving better and differently than any other. And when they went through their final pre-deployment training back at 29 Palms, the instructor said it was one of the best performances ever. And this is only in 3 months. So this is high performance as well as the guys who were struggling with PDS and concussions. Everyone together improved their performance. And then right after that, we did some more pilots with the 3rd Regimental School. So some of the tougher programs in the Marine Corps, squad leaders course, average score across the Marine Corps went from 82 to 94. And the Scout Sniper course, one of the hardest in all the military, usually 30-40% drops, reduced to just 1 per class, and the highest marksmanship scores. So we were creating some incredible improvements in any group that we worked with. In fact, from there, it spread. So from the Marines, it spread to Navy SEALs, Army and Air Force pilots, Navy EOD, Marine Corps riflemen, and leaders from lieutenants to generals all improved their performance. But what I realized was most of these men had deployed several times and they suffered from what we call the wounds of war, concussions, PDS, and so forth. So even though they were performing so well, a lot of them were struggling with some of these issues. And again, our goal was to accelerate recovery as well as just help them improve more. The great thing about this is that when I worked with a unit, there was no stigma. They didn't have to go see a therapist or anything else. They just did the same, what they call brain games, as everyone else in their unit, and they all improved significantly. So here's the main reason is because applied neuroplasticity rewires the brain around damage, and it reignites those dormant connections. That's why it's so powerful. So there's physical damage in the brain. Stroke would be one, concussions, Alzheimer's. Rather than trying to fix anything, we just want to rewire the brain around it to do what it needs to do. Here's an example, one of my favorites. This Marine that had been through my training a couple of years before, deployed to Afghanistan, he got blown up. He woke up in the hospital. His neuropsych score was a very low 35. He thought, I'm never getting out of here. His exercises that he had worked with me were in his cami pockets. They brought them to him, and after just 4 weeks, his neuropsych score went up to a 97. Not only did that, they did not believe him, they retested him, and it was still that high. And then he became the planning officer from a battalion, from being in a hospital bed, not thinking he'd get out of there, to now being a planning officer for a battalion. So that's what makes me feel good, right? It's to significantly help these people's lives. But what about civilians, right? So once military funding started to get cut, I moved over to the civilian sector. And one of my first was a friend of mine, Army reservist, was an advisor at an inner city school in Chicago. Now, inner city schools, those kids suffer from a lot. They have poor role models. They live in a very unsafe environment. So they also develop post-traumatic stress. There's a lot of negative behavior usually. That's what he said was biggest problem. And they struggle in school. So I embedded with them and I showed him how to do the exercises. And so just in 8 weeks, 15 minutes a time, at each time, three times a week, they went from the lowest to the highest ACT scores in the entire school. They raised their ACT scores 3 full points. All their grades went up and really significantly less negative behavior. One of the issues from PDS is an inability to control ourselves, right? Poor impulse control, which leads to violence and bad actions. Well, that went away significantly. Another example, Robert suffered from bipolar depression. Very stuck. When I first started working with him, I worked with a lot of people via Zoom. He was just sitting in the corner of his sofa, hunched over, overweight, with a beard and a hoodie. After a few sessions, he woke up. It was amazing the difference in him. He got a shave. He started to lose weight. I checked in with him about a year later, he'd lost 100 pounds. And this is what we found very quickly after just 6 sessions. Totally engaged, haircut, working out, and he's trying to find a job. Now he has a full-time job, lost 100 pounds. His whole life has changed. His mother couldn't believe it. And so it's so powerful because it rewires around damage and it doesn't try to fix anything. These are just some of the people we've been able to help. So TBI, anxiety attacks, dyslexia, autism, amnesia, dementia, ADHD, poor processing issues. A young man I worked with, only 10 years old, couldn't get a good grade in school because he had such severe ADHD, and his parents did not want to put him on medication. 6 weeks later, he was student of the month and was getting A's, and his grandmother said he was a completely different child. That's what can happen. We can have when we rewire the brain. And stroke. So I'm going to give you an example of something from a stroke victim. So Phil suffered a severe stroke, and as you know, Aaron, one side of the body can be paralyzed. Well, one of my best trainers, so I have other certified trainers who can help people, was working with Phil. And he said over the course of just about 10 days, he began to get full use of his left side of his body, which was the one most affected. And again, what we're doing is we're stimulating those connections from the brain to the body, rewiring around damage, and re-energizing that. So for all you out there, what's next? Over the next 3 weeks, I'm going to take Aaron through one of our simple yet powerful exercises so you can see the benefits real time. We'll get Aaron's feedback. You'll be able to see how simple it is. And the goal is to give you some hope, right? So if you're struggling with the symptoms of your stroke, we want to give you hope that we can make a change. At the end of the 3 weeks, we're actually going to give you a code where you can download our online platform. So we work in person. As I said, Tim, so at the end of this, you'll always have your ability to communicate with me. I can work with you in person. Tim and our other trainers can work with you in person. And we're also developing an online program. So for very inexpensive cost, you'll be able to go through this program on your own, at your own pace, on your own computer. So thank you so much, Aaron. We can talk and I can answer some questions. Hope that was a good intro for people.
John, that was amazing. I cannot express to you the excitement I have. And you're going to be, I'm just excited about where this is going to go. And I want our audience to know that this is a 4 week mini-series. John and I are going to meet every Wednesday, same time, same place. And we're going to meet together once a week for 4 weeks straight and take you through this program and give you a real thorough presentation. Because it is my feeling as CEO of Stroke TV Media. This has a potential, what I'm seeing on there, as you know, survivors, the hardest thing is we all talk about neuroplasticity, John. Knowing Deutsch, I see his work. It's amazing work he does.
Yep.
But how do you pirate? How do you get to work? And well, guess what? You're here to tell us. And I've been a stroke survivor for going on 14 years. And I've heard about neuroplasticity, but never a way to really, tangible way to really get it working. And I'm so glad you're here because I feel like what you're presenting with this Kennedy method gives a tangible way to spur neuroplasticity. So I want to say thank you.
Well, absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to it too. We did a little bit before. We'll keep going with it. And what I like about this is that you'll be able to give real time. And if it's not working, you can tell people it's not working, right? If you're noticing things, you can tell them you're noticing things. And that's what excites me is to, again, as I said, give people hope, right? Because if we can, avoid drugs, avoid all those other things, and just actually rewire the brain to do what it needs to do very quickly, I think it's going to help a lot of people. And I appreciate you to have this platform to get me out there to try to help people.
John, it's my honor, brother. It's my honor to have you here. I trust me, my feelings are mutual. But I do want you mentioned something I wanted that kind of hits home with me as now your method seems to work fairly fast.
Yes.
I'm amazed. Now let's take that stroke survivor you did work with his hand. How many from the time you started to the time you started to see actual movement in his hand? How long did that take?
Well, about 10 days, but the key to this is also practicing. And again, I never promise, right? Some people have different things we can't overcome. So far, we've been able to help everybody. But anytime you like, that's why I like this platform we're building out there, because anytime people want, they can practice. It's the same thing. Like if when I take people through the training, the more you practice, the more you rewire your brain. And one of the first ones we're going to work with is called, it's a 1 minute neuroprimer. It's something you can use anytime during the day. It engages all parts of your brain and your body. And that every time you use it, it starts to stimulate that. It probably, one of the examples is a great example, I think, of this is re-energizing nerves and connections that have been dormant for a long time. I have a client, a college student, who had cerebral palsy, and he could not use his hands effectively at all. And after about 3 weeks, he sent me an email and he said, "Hey, John, I got to tell you what's happening. For the first time in my life, I can open a bottle with a bottle opener, a bag of crackers without
Oh my
crushing them."
God.
And then he's a funny guy, right? He goes, pretty useful skills for a college kid. And then the other thing about this is it significantly improves our cognitive function. So another 3 weeks later, he said, "What are you doing to my head? I have a 4.0 average. I've never had more than 1A before." So that's what happens when we stimulate all the parts of the brain. I have a neuroscientist at Harvard who says this is one of the most powerful programs for anti-aging. And but this applies to everything, because a lot of times we start to lose our memory or any parts of our brain, right? Because the capillaries that feed the neurons start to dry up. They don't have enough blood flow. Well, this significantly improves the blood flow so much. Sometimes people can even feel it. And he says when we do that, we're re-energizing those capillaries and those neurons, and we can actually start to create neurogenesis, which is actually create more neurons. So all that happens, and as you'll see, it's very, very simple, right? I work with 6-year-olds and I work with Navy SEALs. It doesn't matter. We always start with the same basic exercises because we want to make all these changes. But to do that, it's a very, very simple interface. Very simple.
Well, John, I hope I can talk because I want people to know I experienced your method. I dabbled. I wouldn't say I went all out on it by any means, but I think my first comment was to you. I noticed I'm thinking clearer, I'm thinking
Yeah.
sharper, I'm
Right.
thinking faster, and that was a. I didn't go for it. I can't. I just can't wait. I think it's true. You get out what you put into it.
Yep. That's right.
And
That's right.
I'm telling you, people, this method, that's what I say, or that's what I think. You go into it with everything got, you'll get out everything you got. I'm just excited about John.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
I think what ends up happening, I think a lot of us out there in the brain injury community have lost hope.
Yes. Right. Right. And that's what we want to do. We want to give them hope. Absolutely.
And I think it's amazing because it's tangible. I know in my own brain, I start seeing within hours, days, I began actually feeling a difference of me thinking sharper,
Yep.
me thinking quicker. And to me, now that had been 13 years since I felt that.
Yeah.
So I just say, and I'm gonna, for those audience members out there, maybe you're watching this on replay, I'll put the links to this app. John mentioned the app.
Yes.
There is an app coming out. We're thinking you could launch it. You can launch it. It's available now in beta, and we'll
Yep.
put links to it. But it's really going to become launched in about a week or so.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So we're actually doing a pilot with the Army starting Friday with this app, with our platform. We call it a platform, it's more of a platform than an app, but it's got an AI component, so it'll give you your score as you go along. The developer did an amazing job with it, and that's for the Army. We're going to try to get like 100 soldiers going through this, all suffering from PDS and concussions and so forth, and then be able to publish that to get it out to more people. But we're this close. So we will put the link in, and anyone who's watching will be able to go on and give it a try.
All
Sure.
right. Great. Well, that's really exciting. I mean, when I want to remind everybody here how quick it goes. We're down the last 4 minutes of the podcast, but I want you, everybody, if you're otherwise, we're going to meet every Wednesday for the next 3 Wednesdays to really take a deeper dive into the Kennedy method and really it's every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Stroke TV Media YouTube channel. And John, I am really excited now. The app will have all the ability to walk people through step by step, utilize your method, correct?
Right. Yeah. What we'll do is I'll take you through pretty much exactly what the platform will do. So they'll get a chance to see you working with you, and then if they want to sign up for the platform, they'll kind of know what's coming, and they'll be able to go step by step. It'll go much further than we'll get. They'll be able to keep going with it, but then they'll continue to get benefits with it as well.
Well, great. So I want to encourage everybody out there. This has got me beyond excited. I want you to invite your family, your friends, your neighbors, anybody can use this method.
Right.
Not just a stroke or brain injury people, but this will help everybody. If you have a brain, you qualify. But again, I mean, really, is that true? That's true. If you have a brain, you qualify to improve it. And you're going to be able to improve it using this method. And I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Me too.
But, John, so how did you ever get involved with this? Can I ask you, how did you get involved with it?
It's a good question. So again, I was very happy doing my business consulting. I love doing that, making everything more efficient. And I still do now. I've actually expanded my practice a little bit so I can help businesses and people, be more efficient. And actually, the latest thing, I have a book coming out called Hack Your Habit in 30 Minutes. So the same applies.
Repeat that again. What was it?
So I have a book coming out. Tim's helping me write it called Hack Your Habits in 30 Minutes, not 30 days.
Right.
So because there's a lot of great books about habits, right? All about, they're all good books and they all tell you about habits. But if you're in a hurry like me, you want to just change your habit fast. So we take that same applied neuroplasticity approach to a habit, and we can change it in 30 minutes or less, a whole new habit in 30 minutes or less. So I work with people on a lot of other things besides just the brain training. And that's what we're trying to do, is just use those principles and just improve so many parts of their life.
And you're not just saying this. You've actually experienced this. 30 minutes that's amazing. We belong to C-Suite, Jeff Hazlett, C-Suite Network together. And I hear you saying minutes. And I'm just amazed that minutes which have changed.
Yeah, C-Suite's great. They've been such a great support. It's been a really good group. And we'll be celebrating this on Celebrates.
Yes, well, I'm sorry. This again. We're down the last few minutes, but I want to remind everybody: bring your friends, bring your family, bring everybody can to next Wednesday show, 9 a.m. Central Time on Stroke TV Media YouTube channel. John, it's going to be so quick, I know. But thank you so much. It's been really, really appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. Thanks for this opportunity to spend some time with you and with your listeners. I really appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you next Wednesday.
All right. Take care.
Set me on
Like what you just heard, visit c-suiteradio.com. C-Suite Radio, turning the volume up on business.